Video number 6, the old steep swing, right? The swing that is too much Ferris wheel, right? Generally speaking, and not enough merry-go-round, right? We're kind of always trying to blend those two together. I live in between those two. What is it called? The tilt-a-whirl, right? I think that's the name of it, right? The one that sits on that 45 and spins. That one's crazy. I live in that world. I'm always trying to get people to blend the Ferris wheel with the merry-go-round. Steep swings, okay? I'm going to identify a couple different versions of a steep swing. But let's just go with the basic one first, which is a swing that just goes too much kind of out and up and then just kind of stays there, right? So you'll see your hands kind of traveling, almost out away from you. The club head kind of goes out there too, and then it goes up with a high lead arm, and then it just comes down. I'm exaggerating, right? These videos, if you watch them, I tend to exaggerate a little bit just so you can see it, all right? But out and up, and then really steep coming down. And when we get steep, usually you'll see a player just kind of keep going left. The old chicken wing comes in, video 10. But we kind of come across this way, excessive left. Sometimes you'll see a player, they'll kind of back it up, body will stand up, and they'll make room in here, right, with the weight kind of hanging back. So, but the gist here is just too steep, right? It's too much this way. Now, I've got the driver. Steep swings are not good with the longer clubs, right? You might get away with some steepness with the shorter clubs, the wedges 9, 8, 7, but, you start getting into 6, 5, 4 hybrids, fairway woods driver, it's tough, okay? So we've got to take some of this Ferris wheel and we got to get some merry-go-round in it. Oftentimes what I'll do with the steep swings, I'll have a player take a driver and I'll just have them hold it out in front of them like this and just make it on a horizontal plane. And then I'll have them, bow forward a little, tilt to the right, just kind of get it here. And then just let the hands and the club swing in and around, right? So in and around, and then kind of back to the other side, around that way. Okay, so around and around. Okay, so you can see that Ferris wheel action. Now when I do that, I feel my torso and my hips turning. I feel them opening up so I can let this come around me, and then on the other side I feel the same thing. Right? So I feel the same thing, right? So I feel this opening up back around the other side. So much of this other side from impact on is kind of a bit of a result of what's happening on this side, right? So it's kind of an action, then you have a reaction. So things kind of tend to clean up a little bit on the other side as we make it more Ferris wheel going back and then coming down into impact. So do that here and then drop it down. 45 degrees. Do the same thing. Around, get it to return to that 45, and then back around the other way. So you're just taking that Ferris wheel and making it a tilt-a-whirl, and then you just slowly work it down, but it feels more this way. Now, the around part is very much the turn, getting the lower body to turn, getting the trail hip to turn back behind you out of the way. Losing some flexion in the knee. Let the left knee stand up a little bit, okay? And when you do that, now your hand path can travel in, okay? Your hands can travel in. You can see how the shaft's still in line with my lead arm. I'm not doing this. I'm letting the whole thing come in. I like the idea of the lead arm and the shaft in a straight line. And when we make that a straight line, I call that the primary lever, straight line here. Lead shoulder, lead wrist, club head. And then just turn right, keeping this in line. Turn right, turn left. And when I do that, again, there's that merry-go-round. Okay, everything is working around me. So I like that feeling, lead arm and shaft in a straight line, following the turn of that right hip, and everything just kind of works together here. Now, of course, with my right hip turning, I feel my shoulders turning, and I feel my lead arm swinging around me. Depth this way. Got to get some depth, this arm. We don't want this arm going up. We want it going around. Feels lower, well, a la Matt Kuchar. Lower under the shoulder, feels like. It's not. But it's not up here either, right? It's not up on the neck. Okay, so I like that primary, following the turn of the shoulders and the hips and working around. The other thing I like with the right hip turning back out of the way is this lead shoulder really getting back behind the golf ball. See, my lead shoulder's really got back behind it. Feels like it's almost just inside my right kneecap. So when I turn that hip and that left shoulder comes across, man, those movements really allow this primary to come in and the lead arm to work around me. And if you can get that going, that steepness of that swing that is just generally kind of out here and up and down, right, it starts to round up. And as it rounds out here and you get into impact, well, then it's going to round out back to the other sides. A couple things that address that tend to help that, promote that, going back and then also coming through into impact is then just having a little bit of, this side bend to the right. In particular with the driver, I play it forward, I want to have a little side bend to the right and then round it out. And then when I come back into impact, I'm still in that side bend to the right. Okay, I haven't, dived out in front of it. My spine is there tilted to the right. And then what really helps kind of shallow it and round it out through here, back around to the other side, is a little bit of extension in the spine. Okay, so extension in the spine would be this way, flexion would be this way. And then, of course, I've got right bend and left bend. So what I like is to set up in a little bit of right bend, and then when I swing through, I'm still there in a little bit of right bend, but then I have this little extension in my spine, that little dish in my lower back. That really keeps me behind it. It allows the club to exit properly back around the other side. Spine extension is something that I talk about a lot. Spine extension this way is something that you want to feel even in the backswing. When I turn my right, I can have a little extension of my spine. When I let my spine extend, I feel like I'm almost kind of elongating up, and it gives me more rotational freedom. It allows things to swing more around and load up better. Okay, so I'm not a fan generally just trying to keep it down, where I don't have any extension. I like the idea of turning the right hip, losing flexion in the knee, a little bit of extension in the spine, okay? And then that really gets things, the primary, to swing around you. You can really get the lead arm working around, and then as it comes back down to impact, that weight went left, still in that right bend, with a little bit of extension again. And that really allows the club to turn the corner and swing back around the other side. So these are some things that you can do to round it out, right? Now, let's talk about steepness in the context for a moment of the downswing, okay? Because sometimes we can get pretty well organized going back, but then when we come down, we go there. We get steep with the club shaft in transition, okay? Now, here's the club, okay? Steepness in transition, the club's going to move towards vertical. Towards vertical. Shallowing, okay, towards horizontal. Okay, I would prefer the club to work back this way. Now, I don't want to get too much in the weeds. Just a little bit of extra credit here, okay, on the steepness part. We've covered the main bit of it. But when you talk about the shaft in transition, as we've turned to the top, we get the club kind of organized. Preferably, we want to see some of this. Okay, now there's different things that facilitate that. One of them, yes, we want to have a little weight shift. Two, yes, we want to have a little bit of right bend. Okay, we can't be just diving across it this way. But the other part of it is I like to see a little bit of external rotation in the right shoulder. Just a little bit of this if we got it. Right elbow going this way, not that way. Internal, external. So we kind of get up there and we feel a little bit of that, a little bit of that, Okay? I've never been too worried about the elbow getting, so here going back. Kind of okay with the right elbow a little bit, generally speaking, letting it kind of drift a little so we can get a little coming down. A little bit of that. And when we do that, a little external, watch where that club goes. Right? And I like to feel that up here. I like to feel that up here so the shaft shallows rather than gets steeper. Don't pull down. You pull down, the lead wrist gets extended, gets cupped. Let's not do that. Let's flex it. Let's curl it this way. And when we curl it, now, wow, now look at that little external, little curl in the left wrist. That shaft lays down, shallows out, face maintains where it's nice and square. And then pow, I can turn and hit it with that little right bend and extension to impact. So, hope that helps with the shaft coming down in the overall context of steepness, right? Steepness can mean different things. We addressed it in just kind of its own shape, right? But then also a little bit more specifically with the golf club coming down. Important video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope now things are feeling a little bit more round. I hope things are feeling like it's shallowing out a little bit, and that's very conducive as the club gets longer.